Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Pure AI Podcast, an AI generated episode based on the work of flesh and blood reporters. I'm Gladys Rama, editorial director at 1105 Media, and I'm joined, as always, by John K. Waters, the editor in chief of Pure AI. Hi, John.
Hi, Gladys. Let's get to a recent story I wrote for the website, Claude's Law, Inside the Ruling that just redrew the boundaries of AI and copyright, which looks at a recent federal court decision that could very well reshape the landscape for AI developers and content creators alike, especially when it comes to the training of large language models.
It's a ruling that's already sparking intense debate and has significant implications for how AI models are built and what constitutes fair use in this rapidly evolving digital age. We'll break down the details of this landmark case and what it means for the future of AI.
So let's dive right into the heart of the matter. On June 23, 2025, U.S. District Judge William Alsup issued a ruling that's already sending ripples throughout the AI industry. This decision came from the case of Bartz vs. Anthropic, which was brought forth by a group of authors. Their claim was that their copyrighted works had been hoovered up and digested, as the article puts it, by Claude, Anthropic's high-profile AI assistant. Essentially, it was a copyright complaint against what they perceived as AI-fueled content theft. But Judge Alsup's ruling delivered a significant verdict on what it means to read in the age of machine intelligence. He declared that training a large language model like Claude on lawfully purchased books constitutes fair use. This is a monumental distinction. It essentially means that if you legally acquire a book, you can use it to teach your AI model, even if that involves something as seemingly drastic as cutting the spines off the physical books to scan them. The judge likened this process to a human writer absorbing knowledge from books to develop their own voice and style. He clarified that Claude wasn't memorizing passages to regurgitate them directly. Instead, it was building what he called statistical intuition, much like a human reader does when they learn from various texts without outright copying them. This ruling provides a meaningful legal safe harbor for AI developers. If they've lawfully purchased the material, they can use it for training. The analogy isn't to a pirate photocopying a book, it's to a writer with a stack of dog-eared paperbacks by their desk, using them as a source of knowledge and inspiration. It's a critical differentiation that could define how AI models are built moving forward, but it's not the full story, as we'll soon hear.
Exactly, John. To really understand the nuance of this ruling, we need to look at the mechanics of what Anthropic actually did. The essential facts of their training process weren't really disputed in court. Anthropic went to great lengths to acquire its training data. They acquired tens of thousands of physical books. And as you mentioned, they literally chopped the bindings off these books, then scanned them into a digital format. This massive corpus of text was then fed into Claude to teach the AI assistant how to converse, summarize, and write with the astonishing fluency we've come to expect from these large language models. Now, to some, this might sound quite radical, almost like creating a Frankenstein's Kindle, as the article puts it. But to the court, and specifically to Judge Alsup, this process was viewed as transformative learning. He ruled that the training of AI on these legally acquired texts, even without explicit permission or licensing from the authors, qualified as fair use. He emphasized that Claude wasn't simply memorizing passages to regurgitate them word for word. Instead, the AI was building what he called statistical intuition, a fundamental understanding of language and context, much like a human reader develops their own perspective after reading extensively. This distinction is crucial. It effectively carved out a meaningful legal safe harbor for AI developers. The ruling essentially states that if you bought the book, you could teach your model with it. It clarifies that the analogy isn't to a pirate making illegal photocopies, but rather to a writer keeping a stack of dog-eared paperbacks beside their desk for reference and inspiration. It truly set a precedent for how the learning process of AI would be viewed under copyright law.
That's an excellent breakdown, Gladys, and it really highlights the court's nuanced understanding of AI's learning process. However, for all its clarity on the fair use of lawfully acquired texts, the The ruling also contained a bombshell that revealed a much messier side of Anthropic's data acquisition practices. Buried within the court filings was the revelation that Anthropic had downloaded more than 7 million pirated books. Yes, 7 million, from shadow libraries like LibGen and Zed Library. This wasn't just a couple of accidental downloads, it was described as a systematic acquisition of the literary canon without paying a single dime. Anthropic internally referred to this collection as a central reference library. And this part, Judge Alsup was unequivocally clear, that is definitively not fair use. He drew a very hard line here. The court's ruling emphasized that lawful acquisition is absolutely critical. Using pirated materials, no matter how transformative the application might be, is still copyright infringement. The judge's words were direct and to the point when he stated, AI isn't exempt from the basic principle that theft is theft. This distinction is incredibly important because it means that while Anthropic might have won the philosophical battle over fair use for lawfully acquired texts, it may very well lose the war over how it built a significant portion of Claude's brain. The case will now move to trial in December, and the implications for Anthropic are substantial. They could face up to $150,000 per work in damages for willful infringement. When you consider the sheer volume of pirated books involved, that financial exposure is massive. The company's future could very much hinge on how the court ultimately calculates the damage done by the inclusion of this pirated data in Claude's training corpus.
Exactly, John. This is where the ruling really creates what we might call the Claude dilemma for Anthropic. It effectively splits the company's training corpus right down the middle. On one hand, the court greenlit the development pipeline that used lawfully purchased books, confirming that kind of training is indeed fair use. But on the other hand, it placed what amounts to a ticking legal time bomb under the portion of their AI built on those millions of pirated books. It's a fascinating and incredibly nuanced outcome. And yet, despite this clear condemnation of using pirated materials, the broader implications for the AI industry might actually be more liberating than limiting in the long run. For a long time, many AI companies have operated in a kind of gray market, often relying on large-scale data scraping, sometimes without clear legal precedent, all in the name of progress and building larger, more capable models. Now, thanks to Judge Alsup's ruling, they know the terms much more clearly. The court has laid out specific conditions. If you acquire your training data lawfully, and if your AI's outputs are genuinely transformative and not simply substitutive of the original copyrighted work, then the law is likely to be on your side. This is a truly powerful precedent. The court isn't giving AI free rein to do whatever it wants with content. Instead, it's articulating a crucial distinction, that AI learns differently from humans, and that fundamental difference matters profoundly under existing copyright law. It's about how the material is used for learning, not about replicating it, but it also unequivocally underscores that the initial acquisition of that material must be legitimate.
That's a crucial point, Gladys. This ruling isn't just about Anthropic, it's reverberating across the entire Silicon Valley ecosystem. AI developers everywhere are treating Judge Alsup's decision like a legal North Star, guiding them through what has been a very hazy legal landscape. We're talking about major players here, Meta, OpenAI, and Google, all of whom are currently fending off their own significant copyright lawsuits. The immediate effect? They are now furiously auditing their training data sets. This isn't just a recommendation, it's an urgent necessity. The ruling has made it unequivocally clear that while transformative learning might be fair use, the source of that training data must be legitimate. No more ambiguity about sweeping up content from shadow libraries. If it's pirated, it's infringement, plain and simple. And it's not just the tech giants. Venture capitalists who've been understandably spooked by the specter of multi-billion-dollar liability from these ongoing copyright battles are seeing this decision as a partial reprieve. One tech policy strategist summed it up perfectly, saying, "This ruling doesn't end the legal fog, but it draws a clear outline around what's permissible. You can't claim ignorance anymore." It brings a much needed dose of clarity to an industry that has moved at lightning speed, often outpacing legal frameworks. While the threat of litigation certainly hasn't disappeared, there's now a discernible path forward for how to ethically and legally build these powerful AI models. It legitimizes a core method of AI training, provided you source your materials properly.
Exactly, John. And amidst all this industry wide reevaluation, it's worth looking at Anthropic's specific public stance following the ruling. In a July 30 investor update, Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei struck a remarkably defiant tone, stating, and I quote, "Claude was built to be the most honest and helpful AI in the world. That starts with honesty in how we train it. Now, that's a powerful and strategic message, one designed to reassure investors and maintain public confidence in their flagship AI product. However, it's a message that's undeniably undercut by the messy reality of their past shortcuts. The court filings clearly showed that they systematically acquired millions of pirated books from shadow libraries like LibGen and ZLibrary to build what they internally called a central reference library. So, while Amadei is projecting an image of honesty and ethical training practices, the court has already highlighted a significant departure from that ideal in their initial build-out. This stark contrast is what makes the upcoming December trial so incredibly significant. It's not just a footnote to the fair use ruling, it's a critical next chapter that could have profound consequences. The trial will determine not only Anthropic's financial fate, with potential damages of up to $150,000 per pirated work, but it will also set a precedent for whether the AI industry can afford, or will be forced, to clean up its training practices retroactively. It will test the boundaries of accountability for past data acquisition methods and might dictate how stringent future data sourcing requirements become. This isn't just about one company's bottom line. It's about shaping the ethical and legal landscape for an entire transformative technology.
Gladys, that really sets the stage for the next phase of this legal saga. But stepping back, what's the ultimate sharpest takeaway from Judge Alsup's ruling that listeners should really grasp?
John, the core takeaway is truly twofold, and it's a testament to the nuance the legal system is trying to apply to a rapidly evolving technological landscape. First, the ruling makes it clear that the legal system sees a fundamental difference between an AI learning from content, much like a human does to develop their own voice, and outright copying or memorizing passages for regurgitation. That distinction is pivotal for AI development.
Right? It legitimizes the idea of transformative learning for AI models, provided the source material is acquired legally. And that brings us to the second equally crucial point, which is the hard line drawn on acquisition methods. The court unequivocally distinguishes between buying a book and pirating one. Even if the subsequent use of that pirated material is transformative, as the judge noted, theft is still theft. This means lawful acquisition is critical, and it's a principle that AI companies can no longer claim ignorance about.
Exactly. So while Anthropic won the philosophical battle on fair use for training with lawfully acquired texts, they are still on the hook for the millions of pirated books. It's a classic case where they did both, and the legal system is treating those two actions very differently. As of July 31st, Claude, the AI assistant at the heart of this, remains online, continuing to operate. It's perhaps wiser for the very ruling that legitimized a significant portion of its training data. However, the creators, Anthropic, are definitely headed to court in December for the part that wasn't legitimate. It's a complex legacy with one foot firmly in legal safe harbor and the other in troubled waters.
And that wraps up our deep dive into the Bartz versus Anthropic ruling, a truly landmark decision that will undoubtedly shape the future of AI development. It's a testament to the complexities arising at the intersection of law and cutting-edge technology.
Indeed, John, it's a story that's far from over, and we'll be watching closely as it moves to trial in December. The implications for Anthropic and the entire AI industry are immense.
Be sure to check out our ongoing coverage of all things AI at pureai.com. Also, check out the newest feature on Pure AI, the Converge 360 Elevator Pitch video series. This series features snapshot interviews with executives who explain to their target customers what their companies do, how they use AI to solve common business problems, and how to get in touch with them to learn more.
And look for the Pure AI podcast every Friday on YouTube.
Thanks, everyone, and have a great day.